podcast where we get comfortable with the uncomfortable and talk about what it is to be a woman in the arts today.
So get the bra off, get the knickers out and get ready to go Commando with
Dora Colquhoun. And today we're talking about neurodiversity and the arts. I'm Izzy.
And I'm Faye.
So we're here in this beautiful studio on Adhd Street with Dora Colquhoun, who is rehearsing at the moment for her brand new show, Adhd the Musical.
Woohoo! So Dora, can you tell us a little bit about the show and how it came to be?
Yeah, so it's an autobiographical show, and it's about being diagnosed with ADHD as an adult. So it's sort of about looking back on my past experiences and framing it with this new, quite important piece of knowledge. So it's sort of like, oh, that's why I never knew where my keys were, or why I lost 8 passports, or why I got into some tricky situations.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got my diagnosis, it was 2018, and I didn't actually want to really look at it, this big envelope that I got given for 2 years. And when the pandemic hit, like everything stopped, and I wasn't applying for all these acting jobs, or like thinking, oh, maybe I could go to Japan, or maybe I could do this. And like everybody, it was like a time for pause.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like this envelope was sort of just sitting, collecting dust, and I was like, maybe I could do something with it, because I had always wanted to make a one-woman show. And I thought about it in many different ways, but it felt like this was the time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to talk to other creatives and artists about how they put together their work, and they suggested I contact Dada Fest, who are the disability arts organisation. And I was very insistent. It was profuse emails, quite a lot, saying, I've got this idea, I'd really like to, and you have to be persistent.
Yeah. Because
they had never heard of me, and they were good in the sense that they did respond, and they were like, put me in touch with 1 September, who helped me write the application, which is so important, because an Arts Council application is a difficult thing to do, especially if you don't have any prior experience of doing funding applications. So I did an R&D, which was brilliant because it gave me a lot of time to work out what I wanted to make. And I knew in my head quite strongly. I actually came up with the full idea when I was cycling along the Leeds to Liverpool Canal. I was with a friend, and I was in Bootle, and I don't know if it was the chemicals of the factory or what was going on. I was like, I need to make this musical. And I knew I wanted it to have this sort of TED Talk aesthetic, because I love TED Talks.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're such a great way to take information in. And they always tend to be so theatrical, like a lot of people are telling their own stories. Like, I was like, lots of people have these very dramatic stories of like, I was homeless and then I was CEO, and it's always so dramatic. So I knew I wanted it to have a TED Talk element. I knew I wanted it to be a musical, but I also wanted it to have important information in it. So I was like, who do I need to make this? So I Googled neuroscientist, and I found somebody that replied within 5 minutes. And I was so lucky to come across this professor at Goldsmiths University, and he was so generous, and he spoke to me on Zoom before I'd even had any funding, and I told him about my project, and he was like, oh, I'll put my name down and I'll support you, and I'll give you 50% support in kind. So having that backing from this professional was a massive weight in the project, in the sense of it. I think it really helped me get that initial funding.
Mm-hmm.
So I just happened to have a lot of luck. I just happened to find this reputable person that was going to support me.
Mm-hmm.
So, the show, back to your initial question, it's all about talking about my experiences, but trying to frame them in a way that is storytelling, but using things that I love. So I love musicals, and and I love comedy, but I also want to tell the stories with sincerity, because I think, you know, comedy is something I naturally gravitate to, but I think with something like this, there are moments where in the story which are quite challenging. You know, I talk about difficult things from my childhood, or, you know, times where I've got myself in situations that have been really uncomfortable or embarrassing. And so it's trying to find the balance between the humour and obviously I want it to be entertaining, but I want to be very honest. And the first version of the show, it's like I'm pushing the boundaries of what I want to share, what I'm comfortable with. And now I feel like I've gone even further. So I'm excited to share the show because I want the story to be shared, but I'm also, excuse my French, shitting myself.
Yeah, I bet. Overall, like, how do you think ADHD has like had an impact on your journey as an artist? Like, whether like through this show and before?
100%, I think ADHD, without even having the information that I have now, of course it's impacted it. Like, I've gone from so many jobs. My skill set of being good at improvising, a character actor, I love being with people. I'm very animated. I'm quite physical as a person, and I think that is definitely to do with ADHD. Like, in school I really struggled with, like, I always loved English and history and things like that, but I loved drama because it was something I connected with so easily. And so I felt like this was a path for me, that where I'm like, I can do this. Like, I actually had a job in an office like a couple of years ago, and I like reacted really weirdly to being in an office environment. Like, I thought, I need to dye my hair brown and get a briefcase. And you know, when you're in those environments that are just so like synthetic. And I just remember walking into this office space in Old Trafford and just immediately imagining everyone in a bath of beans. You know, like your mind just takes you to that place. It's like, God, this is really not my place. You know, I really enjoy creative environments, so I've always strived to look for those. You know, but that doesn't mean, you know, I've been a Christmas elf. You know, I've been a bush. I've literally dressed up as a bush for Halloween. Like, whatever, I just throw myself at it, because I think with people with ADHD do struggle with the routine. Now, I can't talk for everybody, but my research has shown that, you know, variety is so important. And, you know, people with ADHD do have a deficiency in things like dopamine, so they constantly enjoy new things. So I think now I know that, but when I was like a young 20-year-old just being like, why can't I keep a job, or why am I constantly dissatisfied? You know, I just traveled so much, and I always, but not always in a happy you know, it was just like, I'm gonna go here, and when I was somewhere I was immediately thinking, well, where else can I be? And that is quite exhausting. So for me, the pandemic was like, well, you're not going anywhere, love. You know, Boris says you're staying in. So weirdly, it was brilliant for me to have that time to stop, because it actually made me make my own work, as opposed to being like, oh, maybe I can be a pirate for £9 an hour.
So, sort of, what inspires you and motivates you to be creative?
Well, it seems like for me an absolute necessity. You know, when I'm feeling bad, which happens frequently, you know, I always feel that creativity just gives me that purpose. You know, it's not always solid gold, but it's just like, I find, I've got thinking of a song or an idea or something I want to do. So I'm driven by creativity because it really gives me something that nothing else can. You know, in the show I do talk about some challenging things like addiction, and it's like everything has light and dark, but I found the lightness and the richness in my life has always come from my creative pursuits. Like starting out, I would do so much stuff for like a lunch and a packet of crisps. You know, you pay, like, I feel like you just do things. Like I always made theatre anyway without any money. You know, it's like I just wanted to do it, and it's like I can imagine doing something else.
Makes you feel good.
Yeah, it definitely makes me feel good, and I think finding that has been a real saviour for me. Like today I read that the government are thinking about not giving funding, student loans to people that haven't passed their maths or English GCSE. I didn't pass my maths GCSE.
I didn't pass mine.
And I have so much shame around that. And I think, well, what if I wasn't allowed to then go to university and study drama? What if I wasn't given that path? So it's just like a scary time where people aren't valuing the arts or creativity. And I think you know, this is another reason why I want to make the show, because I think it's like creativity has really helped me.
And it's a really important topic to speak about if people are feeling any kind of, I don't know, shame or discomfort with themselves, if they are also neurodivergent, that it's like, no, actually we can talk about it, like you're valid, everything that you experience or have experienced is valid.
100%. Shame is a big running theme throughout the show, and we have interviewed other people, and I'm really excited to have other voices in the show. But for example, one piece of information I found is a young person with ADHD by the age of 12 will have 20,000 more negative messages from their parents, teachers or peers than somebody that doesn't have ADHD. So if you imagine you're forming your sense of self and you're just hearing all of those negative messages all the time, then it's going to be very difficult to then become a whole, you know, person that has a good sense of self-esteem. I think a lot of the time people with ADHD or other neurodivergencies, they feel like they don't measure up because we live in a world that isn't designed for neurodivergent people. And that's something I think I'd like the show to highlight. You know, having ADHD, yes, there's challenges, but there are also benefits. You know, so many people with ADHD can't, like, they hyper focus and they can do in a few hours what maybe somebody might do in a full day. So it's about finding the strengths, and for example, employers being able to work with them, say, okay, you don't need to work these 9 to 5 hours, you work better in the evening, or you work better in the morning or in short bursts. So I think it's like these structures that are put in place, like the 9 to 5 Monday to Friday working week, they are proving to not exactly be the most effective way to be.
So out of everything you've ever worked on or been a part of, what's been your favourite project?
Well, I think it's hard because this project has been the most supported, which is amazing. Yeah. Because I'm very much a merging artist myself. This is the first project I've had really a solo that has been funded, and it's amazing because I've had access to resources that I've never had before. Like the other week, we had a sharing, and I was just in that kitchen. There's a kitchen just through here, and I would look through the window as I was making tea, and I just saw the people in the room, and I was quite really moved by it because I was like, wow, this is like my dream team, Northwest creative. It's like I've got a designer, I've got a movement director, I've got a producer, I've got another director, a stage manager, an access consultant, and I'm like, wow, they're all here to support this project. And it was quite overwhelming, but it was amazing. So that feeling is like, I've never had that before. So in that sense, it's definitely this project. But I do, as I mentioned earlier, I feel like I'm really putting so much of my personal story into it. So I'm like, I feel like I'm really giving it all, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but my director is somebody I collaborate with. So there's another show I'm very proud of called The Flower Pot Women.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about these two very eccentric women that live in a garden, but it's also about female friendship and the complexities of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, women have this sort of unspoken language that I think we're all operating on this frequency where we pick up on things that maybe other people don't. And sometimes it's brilliant, but sometimes it's quite devastating.
Yeah.
You know, it's like sometimes you do have bad thoughts. I want my friend to do well, but not better than me.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like,
uncomfortable
and so I've got
things,
a friend that I've had since 5 who is also an artist, and we're trying to explore that relationship, like through these very eccentric women, and we're living in a garden, and it's like we're only going to get more old and eccentric and qualified to play that role. So it's like we can put that down but pick it up in a few years' time.
Yeah.
So I really do love working with her because it's like we don't have to work on the chemistry, it's already there.
And then it's like an ever-evolving project.
You're
as
only
you're
getting
growing.
more wrinkly.
Yeah.
You know, it's only,
Absolutely.
Right, Dora, so we're getting down to the nitty and gritty. Yeah. So, if you were a pair of knickers, what would you be?
Yeah, I definitely have a strong image, and it's just like a giant pair of like black Primark pants. You know, like there's nothing glamorous about what's going on here. I'm a comfort girl.
Yeah.
And that's actually my philosophy in basically everything. Like I'm not somebody that like will wear heels or like
comfort over everything.
Yeah, because I think if you feel comfortable, you do emit something that is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also I have like really wide duck feet, so I can't really find shoes that fit me. But yeah, I definitely a giant pair of pants, just really big.
We'll all go home and get an giant pants.
That's it.
What do you think some barriers are for women in the arts?
Yeah, I think I want to have a bit of a think about this question.
Yeah.
I guess it's like the patriarchy, you know, well, that's the giant one, isn't it? Like being made to feel like you can't do things as well.
You're not as capable, apparently.
Just like things like even just finance. I think women aren't really, generally growing up, I felt like were never given the tools and the information to feel like they can be independent. There's still these messages that like, oh, you need to have a partner and you need to rely on them. Like men obviously still get paid more than women on average, and I think like not having that financial independence really impacts a woman's ability to make decisions and access opportunity. I think there are so many barriers in place for women because, you know, we have so much, I feel like there's so much judgment on women on what they decide to do, you know, regarding, oh, do I want to have children, or, you know, am I going to just be single or live alone, or am I going to enter in this arts field? I think it's just very, very difficult with regards to judgment. And I get so much from being, you know, in female only spaces. Like actually a big part of the show started from being in a women's circle that started during the pandemic, and we met on Zoom every 2 weeks, and it was facilitated by this woman, Christina Bebbington, psychotherapist, and we'd have these really meaningful conversations talking about lots of different things. And that's where I got the idea to use these inner female warriors. So in the show is Dolly Parton, Cher and Julie Andrews, because we did this exercise where you choose these icons that you resonate with you, like what is it you love about this person. So that's how I thought, I've got some really difficult stories I want to tell, and I can't tell them as Dora, but maybe Dolly Parton can tell this story for me, or Cher can tell this story. And so I think women do face a lot of barriers, but I also think when women come together and support one another, it's incredibly powerful. And I think these ideas, these negative messages are designed to keep women separate or judge one another. And I think when you break that down, women, like, there's so much to be achieved.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Yes.
Yes. So knowing what you know now, what would you tell yourself when you were just starting out?
Have a glass of water, love.
I thought you were going to say glass of wine.
The opposite. Do you know what? I think when I was younger, I didn't take myself very seriously. And I think, like, with the Dada Fest incessant emailing, I wish I'd have been a bit more like that when I was younger. Because I think you're going to be judged any which way, whether you're whatever age you are. So just, you know, try and not worry about what other people are saying about you, because if you want to do something, one, you're probably going to have to do it yourself to get going, to start off with. And just try and just go for what you want. Because I think it's very, very difficult when you feel like, oh, maybe that's not for me. But why isn't it for you? In the sense of, like, you deserve, like, I think it's just about applying yourself to things. I wish I'd have just had more focus, but obviously at the time I didn't realise I had this other thing going on. And also just apply for things, take yourself seriously, find your worth. Like, give yourself I wish I'd have given myself more value, and then maybe I wouldn't have done half of the things I did. But I also think you can't be, you where you are is where you're meant to be. You know, I couldn't have made this show 5 years ago, and I'm not going to make it in 5 years. It's just like, there's an element of you're only ready when you're ready. So I've just given you 2 pieces of conflicting information.
Oh, I love it.
Thanks so much for talking with us, Dora. It's been an
Yeah.
absolute pleasure.
Yes.
So if anyone is wanting to get tickets, there's still some available. So we've got the 11th of March, Witness Studio, 7:30. 8th of March, Edge Hill. 9th of March, Royal Court, sorry, that's sold out now. And the 17th of March in Camden People's Theatre. So hurry up and grab your tickets.
And I'd just like to mention, we'll be doing some free workshops for women who are neurodivergent. So we're going to be doing those at the Liverpool Lighthouse and another space. So I'll advertise it on my social media. So it'd be really great if anybody identifies with that, they could come along.
Yeah. And tell our listeners where they can find you on social media.
Indeed. So I'm on Instagram at Dora Violet, and my website is www.doraviolet.co.uk.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's mad because it makes you think, doesn't it? Like, because like in like school and that, I was always like crap at maths, and like still to now I still can't do basic maths. Like it's weird, but like with Dora saying that, I don't know, it just makes me think. And I've always loved drama in school. Like they'd be like, oh, drama's not a proper subject, and you think, well, yeah, it is.
Well, actually, yeah, it is.
It's like I was never really good at all my other subjects, except for
like the academic ones that are like, oh, you go to school for this, when it's
Yeah.
actually like, no, it's all a part of the journey.
Yeah,
Do you
it's
know what I
crazy
mean?
because like mainstream school, what they call it now, is like pen and paper. Like that's how you learn. But I think that's why I always struggle, because that's not how I learn. Like just writing down.
100%. Yeah, and just listening and then regurgitating everything.
Yeah.
And it's almost like whether you're neurodivergent or not, it's like if you can't fit into this square and learn a certain way, then you're wrong. Everybody's different, like so different in terms of like how they think and like how they process things and remember. And school's a lot just about like regurgitating. And if you can't regurgitate it in the right way, then...
But I think so as well now, like, I mean, I know people say it's because of lockdown, like mental health, like being on the rise and that, but I think like the pressure of schools and stuff like that is bringing stuff like out of
Forward,
people.
yeah.
Forward, because it's just too much.
No, I
people to
agree.
take.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But then also, like, with neurodivergency,
Yeah.
I was reading this article about this lady, and she was talking about her journey with ADHD and being a creative, and she was just speaking about how there's so much like misinformation and misunderstanding around what neurodivergent even means, whether it's, you know, talking about ADHD or autism spectrum disorder. There's so much stigma that, you know, like Dora was saying, like, oh, you just lose everything, or
You'd understand.
yeah,
You'd have an understanding why.
But then not everybody's like neurodivergency like manifests or presents in the same way.
Yeah.
Like between males and females, it is very different, which is why there's so many cases like Dora that like women get diagnosed so much later on in life. And then it's like they've gone through, you know, growing up and like forming their being, thinking, or like some kind of negativity shrouding who
like
they
just
are.
Struggles.
And
like
just
you just struggle.
Yeah, and you think, why can't I do these seemingly simple tasks, or why can't I don't know, why don't
like
I fit into this box?
You don't understand yourself, and you can't do it. Like you get left behind.
Yeah,
like, that's it. But do you know what as well? I think it's mad. Like, I didn't hear about that, the funding and that. Like, how can they do that to like people without maths and English?
Yeah, no, I think it's absolutely
I'd have no
like
chance.
atrocious. Yeah.
It's horrible to think, innit?
Yeah, because that will cut down so many pathways and so many opportunities for so many people.
Yeah.
And it's just...
It's like people like on courses are just on the course just to be on a course. Whereas like there's people who maybe can't afford to get on a course or be on a course because of the qualifications.
But it's like they would be the ones that like try and like strive in that field. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like I might not be studying maths, but I need maths to study drama. Yeah. You know.
I mean, I never passed mine. I got into college and that.
Yeah. I know.
And then I tell anyone never, just black it on my CV.
You won't use your full name. Yeah.
So guys, before you go, we have a secret mission for you. Go up the stairs, go into your bedroom, go into your top drawer and dig out your comfiest,
biggest,
sexiest pair of knickers. Play your favourite tune and dance your ass off.
Lastly, we'd love to hear from you. You can find us on our Instagram at Commando with Wicked Women, and our email is goingcommando@gmail.com.
Don't forget to use the hashtag #GoingCommando, so we can see how you get on with the secret missions that we've set for you. And please share with us your thoughts about the podcast,
as well as your own experiences of when you started out in the arts, be it as recent as yesterday or 20 years ago. It would be amazing to get a conversation going between all of us. Thanks for listening.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.